Hi, I'm Kimberly, and welcome to As I've Seen It. By now, I'm sure most of you have heard the remarks of Representative Steve King of Iowa, who said we cannot populate Western civilization with somebody else's babies. And we know that he followed that up the next day with CNN's Chris Cuomo and basically said, yeah, I doubled down on that. I said it, I meant it, I didn't misspeak. And he, of course, went further. Chris Cuomo is a good journalist, so he pushed back. Chris Cuomo said, I want to clarify. Muslim Americans, Italian Americans, Jewish Americans, German Americans, Christian Americans, they're all equal to you, right? Do you know Steve King actually had to pause? Chris Cuomo had to push this man into saying that they are all equal in the eyes of God. Yeah. He has divided America into groups and subgroups. He actually used the term subgroups back in July during an interview. When he said Western civilization, he asked, what have these subgroups contributed to Western civilization? And I wish the host at that time, Chris Hayes, had pushed back the way that Chris Cuomo did. It was worth having another segment on this to fight this notion that somehow Western civilization belonged to and was created solely by white people. This notion, it's always been on the fringes until Steve Bannon entered the White House. And him being there has empowered people like Steve King and others to just embrace this idea that America is for white people of European descent only. When I visit Europe, people always ask, where are you from? And as soon as I've answered that question, I try to change the conversation because I try to avoid the follow-up questions, because the follow-up questions mean I'm going to have to, tell them about themselves. This is how it usually goes. Oh, where are you from? I'm from the United States. But where were you born? I was born in Chicago. But where were your parents born? Chicago and Tennessee. And then they look at me as if to say, oh, she doesn't get it. And then they say, but I mean, where is your family from? And then I have to tell them, my family is American. My family has been part of American soil for more than 200 years. My family has been in America since the Constitution was ratified, at least. I have never heard a European ask a white American those questions. Most Americans, as someone put it recently, don't have to think about blood and soil because an American is an American is an American. All of us are Americans, whether your family has been here for 200 years or 200 minutes, whether you were sworn in yesterday or you are the 10th generation, you're an American. Birthright citizenship. You're born there, you're an American. That's not necessarily the case in Europe. If you are a citizen of France, that doesn't necessarily mean that French people think you're French. If you're a British citizen, there are people who will be happy to tell you that you are not English, you are not Welsh, you are not Scottish. For the French, I will say, because I did live there for a little while, they will question you if you do not look the way they think a French person should look. I have a friend who was born and raised in Paris. Her parents were born and raised in Paris. And I stood there with my mouth open as she got the same kind of questions that I usually get, because her white skin wasn't enough to save her from where are your parents from questions. Her dark curly hair made people question her origins. And when she said, my father is Jewish, the people around us went, oh, okay, so you're Jewish. And France is having an identity crisis at the moment because there are people who are brown and black who have been there for generations who say, why am I not considered French? So this idea that, we need to do that same kind of thinking with Americans is a little bit creepy and scary. And it doesn't help that Steve Bannon and Steve King both cite a book called The Camp of the Saints. It's one of the most repulsive and racist books ever written. It talks about hordes of black and brown people coming into Europe and America and taking over. And when I mean disgusting, it describes the Hindu hordes of invaders as people who eat feces. I'm sorry I had to put that out there, but I needed you to know this is not the standard white supremacist nonsense. This goes beyond even that. Sean Spicer was approached by a woman, I believe they were at an Apple store, and she confronted him about working for Donald Trump, and his reply was something along the lines of, "Isn't this a nice country that it allows you to be here?" Well, this woman is an American. She's an American of Indian descent. He looked at her and automatically assumed she was from somewhere else, that she was not an American. Since then, she's been getting all sorts of hate email and hate tweets saying, "Go back to where you came from." She's like, "Where, New York?" Many years ago, I had the honor and privilege of watching a swearing-in ceremony for a brand new American. And I hope that I never forget the judge's words to this woman. He said, "Do not let anyone tell you that you are not an American." I believe we need to hold on to that. We need to export the idea of birthright citizenship, and we need to export the idea of citizenship means you belong. Thanks for watching.